Hey guys, welcome to Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric Hobbs,
And I'm David Woldigan.
and it is football season once again. Guys, Mizzou's off and running, taking on Missouri State in the season opener Thursday night. Before we start previewing that, please, guys, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and on Spotify. Now, David, what do you think? Season's here. Everyone's been waiting basically since Cotton Bowl ended. It's finally here.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of nerves, but our opponents are an FCS team who I just expect to blow out. So, more than anything, I just want to see this new team and what they look like, especially after losing all those guys to the NFL.
Yeah, so you touched on it essentially. This is going to be a little bit different than preview videos later in the season. Murray State is located in Murray, Kentucky. That is the southwestern part of the state, not all that far from the boot heel of Missouri. They play at the FCS level in the Missouri Valley. They went 2-9 a year ago. They went 1-7 in the Missouri Valley. That South Dakota team that Mizzou smoked in the opener last year, well, that South Dakota team smoked Murray State a year ago. So even at the FCS level, not the strongest of teams. Frankly, that is the extent of the talk about Murray State in this video because, well, let's face it, something has gone terribly, terribly wrong if this is even a game in the second half. So, so let's start talking about Missouri's offense and what we want to see in this game. We expect to see touchdowns and points, but what are you looking to see most, Dave?
There's a couple of things. First and foremost, I'm looking at the offensive line. You have Caden Green starting now, most likely, as well as who was it?
Marcus Bryant.
Marcus Bryant. Thank you. And they're going to be taking over basically the left side of the line. So I want to see cohesion. I want to see them just gel, use this game to get used to playing with each other. I want to see what the holes look like for the running back coming off that. And then we have two running backs. I want to see how Mizzou utilizes them, especially do they stick with one back or do they rotate both of them? It's just going to be real interesting to see how some of these new guys are utilized, especially on the offensive side where there's so much firepower.
Yeah, you're talking about Brady Cook's blind side basically being replaced. Marcus Bryant looks to be the left tackle with Caden Green, the Oklahoma transfer, at left guard. That's that guys, that's a lot. That's a lot of talent. It's just as David said, it's something that you have to see them working together and the two of them working with the other three offensive linemen who are returning. So that's especially important, perhaps, with Connor Tollison, the center, right next to him, most of all. And yeah, I want to see, do we finally have a running back by committee? Drinkwitz has talked about it for years, and it's turned into Tyler Beatty going nuts or Cody Schrader just taking over, even going back to Larry Roundtree. And the talent may be such that you can't help but get both Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll on the field because they bring different things, different skill sets, and that just makes the offense so much harder to prepare for. I would expect to see a healthy dose of both just to get them both on film to make future opponents prepare for both. I think you're going to see that a lot, especially in these first four games. And then from there, it could be a hot hand situation later in the year. Maybe one just steps forward as the guy. But in this game, I would be surprised if both Noel and Carroll ended up if either one of them had fewer than 10 carries.
Yeah, 100%. The other
See,
thing,
otherwise, offense, there's not that much. The receivers are the same. Maybe Josh Manning steps up. He's had a good camp. And then can Brady Cook get a little more accurate? but these are fine tuning things. And
And the other,
honestly, you're not going to
I
learn that much against Murray State with the things they're trying to refine.
I do want to mention one other thing with Brady Cook. I know it looks like he worked on it during the offseason. It looks like he put on a lot of arm strength. And I want to see how
Yeah.
that translates to his passing game too. Now, I don't know, especially against Murray State, if they'll throw any deep balls. I don't think there's really a need to. Uh, so it's going to be real interesting to see what kind of touch he has on that football when he's passing. Uh, but I expect to see some extra zip on that ball that we haven't seen from him.
Yeah, I think they may try one or two just so they can see, yep, it works in a game. But it's going to be a little similar to the first two games of last year, I think, where it truly looked like Missouri had a conservative game plan. I think last year that was total gamesmanship to fool Kansas State into thinking the offense was still terrible. I think this year is going to be more about just showing basic stuff because they don't have to.
Well, and managing players because you don't
Well,
want to
yeah.
get injured until you start playing the big boys.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, moving on to the defensive side of the ball, I think you're going to see some of these guys playing more of the game than the offense will, and that's just because they're trying to figure out starters. They'll starting at corner. Dre Norwood seems to be CB1. Seems like he's locked in place, and then it's a matter of Toriano Pride, the St. Louis native and Clemson transfer, but he was thought to be a starter locked in. But Nick Deloach has had such a good camp. Another, he's from Cahokia or East Side. I don't remember offhand, but I think he's St. Louis area. He has really stepped up and is challenging for that spot. I think you'll see both Pride and Deloach playing a lot, maybe together, to really try to figure that out. And I think the same can be said, David, on the defensive line.
Yes.
Yeah, Johnny
Uh,
Walker. Johnny Walker's your first defensive end, but after that, it's not a lack of talent necessarily. It's just new guys.
who's going to step up?
Yeah.
One of the players making a bunch of noise in camp is Marquise Graciel as well, and I expect to see him in the rotation. I don't think he'll start, but he's definitely going to be in the rotation for D tackle.
Yes. Yeah. St. Charles native. Yeah. Kind of came out of nowhere. And yeah, I'd be surprised if he was not in the rotation, especially for this game. Getting Gracial some real game time reps, I think, would be important for just to so he can get extensive game experience. He still does not have a lot of reps, especially those that matter. And then this is one where we're going to see the loss of Darius Smith, how much this hurts Missouri. Zion Young certainly appears to be in line to start at D end, but again, the rotation we don't know. We talking Joe Moore, even Williams Winery, all these guys. There's bodies, but who's going to step up? And that's something that I think remains to be seen, and why I think you're going to see some defensive guys start the game but play longer is because the rotation is not quite as solidified.
Well, and if you can build that experience with the D line and they start to produce, especially as they get more comfortable, it takes the pressure off your secondary because if your D line's getting to the quarterback and reaping havoc, if you will, that's less of a worry for the secondary. Less time they have to cover. It's easier to make adjustments, things like that. So it's very important to see what you have on the D line and if that means running a bunch of players through and see who steps up and plays during game time, so be it.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. One of the most biggest names on the team a year ago, David, was the thicker kicker Harrison Mevis. He's gone now. Blake Craig is the kicker. That's one where Mevis had so much notoriety and attention because of the 61 yarder against Kansas State. At the same time, he missed 6 field goals. I think Drinkwitz would be willing to trade a little bit of the power for some accuracy to where he's like, all right, if it's 60 yards, we don't have a chance. But if it's 45 and in, I feel like it's automatic.
Well, and I know in practice they've reported Blake Craig hitting a couple 52-yarders, so he can
Yeah.
still hit with distance. It's just a matter of honestly, are you really going to need that distance this year if the offense is as potent as it is?
Yeah. And that's something, looking to the offense again, will Missouri have to kick a bunch of field goals? They were phenomenal at scoring in the red zone, but so much of it was field goals that they were third in the country in scoring points of some kind once they got in the red zone, but they were not third in the nation in terms of scoring touchdowns. So that's something they can work on and take the pressure off the new kicker, honestly.
Yeah,
And David,
100%.
with with the return game, let's be honest with ourselves. Luther Burden was not that skilled as a returner because he did not catch the ball. He let it bounce and gave up field position that way more than you like to see. But there might be some good weapons aside from Burden returning kicks this year.
Well, and I'll caveat that with he had a lot of leg issues, injury, nagging things last year, and I think that's also why they're looking at not having him return, just so he
Oh,
can
that's probably
stay.
part of it.
Yes, just so he can stay healthy. Plus, when you have a guy with the name Speedy Johnson, how can you not put him on a return team? You know.
Oh yeah, if the punt return team can give him any kind of wall, look out. He could be the first serious punt return threat since gosh, Marcus Murphy.
Yeah, and competing with him is Daniel Blood as well. So that's going to be a little interesting battle. Maybe they rotate, maybe they switch, maybe one does punt returns, one does kickoff returns. But that's something to keep an eye on, especially early in the season, uh, because I mean, field position, special teams, that's going to win you many games. So definitely important to watch.
Now, David, it's time for picks, and this spread is crazy. I mean, there's no drama here. We're picking Missouri to win, of course, but Missouri's favored by 47 and a half points, and that is just a gigantic number. And for me, I think that number is just too big to put money on if I were to get financially invested in this game. Because all it takes is a game well in hand, backups are out, but then a true freshman or a third, fourth stringer blows a coverage and some Murray State guy is gone 80 yards for a touchdown. And boom, they've covered, you know. It takes one touchdown and you're talking about Missouri having to get 55 points. That's just too big of a number because I think Drinkwitz will get his guys out of there early enough, and one touchdown is all it takes. So I think Missouri wins comfortably. I think Murray State gets a late touchdown, like kind of like I described, and I got Mizzou 52-10.
And see, I raised an eyebrow about the spread too, just because I thought it was extremely high as well. I have Mizzou winning 49-3. I think they're really going to look to make a statement on defense that they haven't lost anybody. Or I shouldn't say lost anybody, but haven't lost talent
Step.
wise. Yeah, they haven't missed a beat, if you will. And my only question is, especially if this team is serious about making a playoff hunt, do they go for the style point looks or do they play conservative? So there's a fine line, especially against an FCS team.
Yeah.
Uh, you want to work on your things, but at the same time, you don't want it close enough to where it might put you in a bad light for a committee down the road. So it'll be interesting to see how Drinkowitz handles this game.
Yeah, it's a weird situation with the scores we just picked, and we both said, nah, Mizzou won't cover. And you got 49-3. I got 42-point margin of victory. Um, but like you said, style points aren't really a thing against an FCS opponent. Go down to A&M and win by 40, then you got the entire country's attention. But this is not that game. So here we are.
All I know is, hey, it's first week of football. It's back, and we're here to cover it all. So thank you guys for watching Under the Arch Sports. Here's to a new season.